You got all those books, the Bible, the different Gospels and stuff that people are quite familiar with. Half the time, they didn't even need to read the subtitles. They could look at it and know what was going on.
The moment Mel Gibson allegedly broke his silence, everything changed, and not in the way anyone expected. What if the story you've heard your entire life was only a fraction of the truth? What if ancient texts, hidden far from the eyes of the Western world, contain details so disturbing that historians refuse to even translate them? Scientists are horrified, theologians are scrambling, and powerful institutions are staying silent. Why? Because what is buried inside the so-called Ethiopian Bible doesn't just challenge belief, it threatens to rewrite it entirely. And the most unsettling question of all, who decided you should never know? Hidden scriptures they tried to erase. Deep within ancient highlands, guarded for centuries by isolation and secrecy, lies a version of sacred writings unlike anything the modern world has seen. These texts are older, denser, and far more revealing than anything widely circulated today. According to whispers tied to Gibson's alleged discovery, these writings describe events surrounding Jesus that were never meant for public understanding. Not parables, not teachings, but raw, unsettling accounts that suggest something far more complex and far more terrifying was unfolding behind the scenes. Why were these texts excluded? Who made that decision? And more importantly, what were they trying to hide? Because those who have studied fragments claim the descriptions go beyond spirituality and into something disturbingly physical, almost otherworldly in nature. The forbidden account of the crucifixion. What if the crucifixion wasn't what you think it was? Not just a moment of sacrifice, but something far darker, something orchestrated with a purpose no one has ever openly discussed. The Ethiopian version allegedly contains passages describing unnatural phenomena during that event, figures that were seen but never recorded, movements in the sky that defied explanation, and a presence that observers could not identify. Witnesses, according to these texts, didn't just mourn, they feared. Feared what was happening in front of them, feared what it meant. Some accounts even suggest that those closest to Jesus began to question whether they were witnessing a divine act or something else entirely. Something engineered. Something hidden within layers of meaning designed to confuse future generations. And if that's true, then why has this version never been allowed into mainstream study? Secrets that challenge everything. Here's where it becomes truly unsettling. The deeper these alleged texts go, the more they begin to contradict the simplified narrative most people are familiar with. Not directly, but subtly, in ways that create cracks in the foundation. Descriptions of Jesus' early life appear altered, extended, filled with encounters and experiences that are completely absent from commonly known accounts. Who were these mysterious figures mentioned only in passing? Why do some passages describe knowledge that seems far ahead of its time? And why do certain sections abruptly end, as if deliberately cut off? Experts who have attempted to piece together these fragments claim there are missing connections, gaps that suggest entire chapters were removed or sealed away. But sealed by who? And for what reason? Because if these details were harmless, they would have been shared long ago. Why they don't want you to know? This is the part no one wants to talk about. If such texts exist, and if they truly contain these hidden accounts, then their suppression isn't accidental. It's intentional, controlled, maintained over centuries by those who understood the consequences of letting this information spread. Because once people start asking questions, the narrative begins to unravel. And once it unravels, it cannot be put back together the same way again. Gibson's alleged revelations don't provide all the answers, but they ignite something far more dangerous, curiosity. And curiosity leads to discovery. So ask yourself, why has this version remained isolated? Why has it never been widely translated, studied, or taught? And most importantly, what would happen if it was? This is only the beginning of what's being uncovered. The deeper this investigation goes, the more unsettling the silence becomes. Because it's not just about what is written, it's about what reacts to it. Those who have allegedly come into contact with these Ethiopian passages describe something no one can easily explain, a pattern of unease, as if the text itself resists being understood. Why would ancient scripture evoke fear instead of clarity? Why do certain translations reportedly stop midway, abandoned without explanation? Scientists are horrified, not because they confirmed anything, but because they can't dismiss it either. And when something cannot be explained or controlled, it becomes dangerous. The language no one could decode. Unlike familiar manuscripts, these writings are said to exist in a form that doesn't translate cleanly. Words shift meaning depending on context, symbols appear where language should be, and entire passages seem encoded rather than written. This isn't just a linguistic barrier, it feels intentional. As if whoever recorded these events knew that one day someone would try to uncover them and took steps to prevent it. Some interpretations suggest that certain phrases describe concepts that don't even exist in modern vocabulary. How do you translate something that was never meant to be understood in the first place? And why would a sacred account be designed this way? Because if truth is meant to guide, why hide it behind something so impenetrable? Witnesses who disappeared from history. Even more disturbing are the mentions of individuals who appear in these texts, but nowhere else. Names that don't exist in any known record. Figures who allegedly stood at critical moments, observing events no one else documented. Who were they? Why were they present? And why were they erased from every other version? According to fragmented interpretations, some of these witnesses didn't just observe, they intervened. Subtle actions, barely described, yet carrying consequences that ripple through the narrative. If these accounts are real, then history as it's known today is missing key participants. And when participants vanish, so does the truth they carried. But disappearance on this scale isn't coincidence. It's removal, the presence that was never explained. One of the most chilling elements hidden within these alleged writings is the repeated reference to something that has no name. Not a person, not a spirit, something else entirely. Descriptions are vague yet consistent, an unseen force, acknowledged by multiple witnesses, yet never directly confronted. It appears at moments of significance, always watching, always present. And here's the part that raises the most questions. Those who noticed it didn't question its existence, they feared it instinctively, as if they already understood what it was. Why would something so important remain unnamed? Because naming something gives it form, and perhaps power. And if this presence was real, then its omission from all known accounts isn't accidental. It's deliberate concealment, the revelation that changes everything. Now consider this. If Mel Gibson truly uncovered fragments of this hidden narrative, then what he found wasn't just information, it was a trigger. A piece of something much larger, something that connects history, belief, and secrecy into a structure no one fully understands. The Ethiopian texts, if they exist in the form described, don't just add to the story, they destabilize it. They introduce variables that cannot be explained within the accepted framework. And once those variables are acknowledged, everything else begins to shift. The timeline, the events, even the purpose behind them. So the question is no longer whether these texts are real. The real question is, what happens if they are? Because if even a fraction of this is true, then what you've been told isn't the full story. Not even close. And the most unsettling truth of all, this may only be the surface. The pattern that shouldn't exist. As fragments of these alleged writings are compared, a chilling pattern starts to emerge. Not in the story itself, but in the structure. Repetitions that don't align with storytelling, sequences that mirror each other in unnatural ways, and passages that seem to reference events before they happen. This isn't just ancient writing, it behaves like something aware of its own timeline. How could a text anticipate its own interpretation? Unless it wasn't written the way we think it was. Some theorists suggest these patterns form a kind of map, not of places, but of understanding. A progression that guides the reader towards something deliberately hidden at the end. And if that's true, then reaching that end might not be safe. The fragment that was never meant to surface. Among the most controversial claims is the existence of a final fragment, one that doesn't fit with the rest. Unlike the others, it reportedly doesn't describe events, it describes consequences. A passage that shifts tone completely, abandoning narrative and speaking directly, almost as a warning. Those who claim to have seen partial translations say it contains instructions, not physical actions but realizations. Ideas that, once understood, cannot be undone. Why would a sacred text include a warning aimed at the future? Unless the act of understanding it changes something. And here's the twist that unsettles even the most skeptical minds. What if the danger isn't in the text itself, but in what it causes people to see? The silence that followed. After these alleged discoveries began surfacing in whispers and obscure circles, something else happened. Nothing. No official denial. No confirmation. Just silence. But not the kind of silence that suggests absence, the kind that suggests control. Discussions fade. Mentions disappear. Individuals who claimed involvement stop speaking altogether. It's as if the moment the conversation gets too close to something real, it dissolves. Why would something so extraordinary be met with such calculated quiet? because reacting to it would give it weight, and ignoring it keeps it contained. But containment only works until it doesn't. The final question no one can answer. And now everything leads here. Not to a conclusion, but to a question that refuses to settle. If these Ethiopian texts truly hold layers of hidden meaning, if they were structured to reveal themselves gradually, if they contain warnings about their own understanding, then what was their true purpose? To preserve history, or to control how and when that history is revealed? Because if the latter is true, then this isn't just about the past. It's about timing, about when the world becomes ready or vulnerable enough to confront what's inside. Even the mention of Mel Gibson in this context becomes less about a person and more about a trigger point. A signal that something long buried is starting to surface again. Don't ask whether this is real. Ask yourself something far more unsettling. Why does it feel like you weren't supposed to hear any of this at all?